Today, I'm going to talk a little bit about the exciting world of growth design, how it's taking the tech and business world by storm, but also how you can apply some of those principles into your workflow as a designer. But first, what is growth design? Growth design is the sweet spot where product design, marketing and data intersect, where businesses can drive meaningful, sustainable growth through customer-centric design practices. So they need to be really adept at managing this tension between what the business desires, which is obviously growth and being a good business, but also creating really customer-centric experiences that draw customers in and want to stay. So they might apply some behavioural psychology to encourage people to stick around a little bit longer in the product or service, whilst also making sure that that is ethical, obviously, and doing right by the customer. To do this, they're probably facilitating a lot of customer interviews or user interviews, doing a lot of testing, making sure that they're bringing user insight into those conversations around like how they build out their business. This isn't always a solo exercise. There's probably a researcher or a data scientist nearby to help, but most growth designers are comfortable rolling up their sleeves and getting in amongst the insight and doing some of these exercises themselves.
So I often get asked about what the difference is between growth design and product design. And growth design finds its roots within product design, so they share a lot of commonalities. But ultimately, product design works at a slower pace than growth design. Product design is focused on creating deep product experiences across planning cycles over months. They might have a lot of discovery work before that to plan their roadmap, and they then go and deliver on it, where growth design creates experiments that take weeks. And then product design is aligned closer to product verticals such as sign up, core experiences, etc., whereas growth design is more aligned across customer journeys. But I think it's important to point out that you can't have one without the other. Product designers are there building high quality core experiences, where growth designers are there to introduce more people to those core experiences. And both are driving good customer value and business value.
One key aspect of growth design is experimentation principles. In my experience being a product designer, I found that experimentation is a way of de-risking or validating an approach that you feel really confident in already. And for me, that's the key difference between a growth designer and a product designer, is a growth designer is more used to using experimentation principles to learn more about a direction. Doesn't necessarily mean it's the thing that's going to be out there live. It's about building confidence in your value proposition or in a change in your product or service. A critical factor in growth design is time. Growth designers are constantly questioning what's the thinnest slice of this experience that I can deliver that will build confidence towards our ultimate hypothesis, our experiment hypothesis. The goal is to learn quickly, stay competitive, and continue iterating on great experiences for the business and the customer. But hold on, I can hear some designers in my ears, not really, saying, but if we're moving quick, like how do we balance that quality angle? And my growth team have a mantra that is scrappy, not crappy. And what that means is we find methods on focusing on the core hypothesis and delivering a high quality slice of that experience that doesn't erode trust or bias the experiment or balloon the scope. Now, this is probably one of the trickiest parts of growth design in my experience. Like, how do you get to prove your hypothesis whilst balancing a really great experience? If you're delivering an experience that probably doesn't live up to the quality that your customers expect, then you're probably biasing that in some way because your customers expect that and they've entered into an experience that probably doesn't meet those expectations. And then they're likely to behave differently. So in a way that biases the experiment. There's no real easy way to answer this, I don't think. It depends if you and your team deem the design to be risky. I think doing some upfront research to build your confidence might help. But if you're more If you're already confident but worried about the effort, then finding a way to scale down the design without compromising the integrity of it might be a route worth taking. But either way, staying focused on what your hypothesis is key to the whole endeavour. And that leads me on to hypotheses. I have a whole video I'm going to point to on creating hypotheses. Data is the backbone of growth design. Teams meticulously analyse the user interactions on their experiments and what's already happening in the real experience. And it's all about being dynamic and informed, embracing an iterative mindset, where failures are stepping stones towards a larger improvement goal. Depending on your company and team's data maturity, finding the data you need might be hard. My advice is start with what you've got. Depending on your company and team's data maturity, getting that data might be hard, and you kind of need to go with what you've got. Your goal might be to have all like these whizzy dashboards with showing funnel drop-offs and feature usage, and that might be a goal that you want to get to, but you need to prove that value of growth design and experimentation before you get to there. So you might not have that stuff. So go with what you got. So how do you apply this? Now, growth design might seem a bit of a daunting task if you don't have access to much data or you don't have this way of working embedded already, but giving it a go and testing what learns, and with a truly design thinking approach, because you're already doing that anyway, will help build a robust case for further capabilities in the future. So where do you start? Start with your problem space and understanding your problem space better. Talk to customers, deeply understand it, really push and validate your assumptions, but be aware of analysis paralysis. As I've already spoken about earlier, a lot of growth design is about speed and pace. So finding that sweet spot where you know enough and you feel confident in how to move forward with the information you have at hand is integral. Understand the metric that you're looking to move. Your team should have a number that they're looking to move that ladders up to the wider business goal. Is it more customers? Is it deeper engagement? Is it product adoption? The experiment needs to ladder up into that wider metric that your team's looking to move. And as a result, you should have a hypothesis. So build one out. Like I said, I have a whole video on hypothesis creation, so go and watch that. Then design the experiment. This is the fun part. This is your job. Like, you've got the hypothesis, and sometimes hypothesis design and ideation are one and the same thing, and that's cool, but you need ideas to test. At this stage, it's easy to blow the scope, especially if you have a lot of stakeholders with opinions. Avoid this by continuously laddering back up into your hypothesis. So constantly ask yourself, is this design decision helping us prove the ultimate hypothesis? Then build it. Because this is likely to be different to your regular product release cycle or how you ship stuff already, then it's probably carrying a bit of risk. So it's best to release these to a smaller set of users. So you can do this in an A/B test or a one-off test on a smaller slice of your experiment, where like A is the control, or otherwise known as the original experience, and B is your new experience, the experiment. Then let it run, analyze the results, then finally iterate. It's easy to think that this is a one and done process. You probably learned a lot throughout this whole process, and you probably learned a lot from the stuff that you're analyzing already. So you likely want to figure out whether you need to polish the design, iterate on it, or pivot entirely depending on what you've learned. Bonus tip is to think about that at the beginning of the process. So would you, given a positive or negative outcome, what would you do next? Because that might completely change your whole process up to that point. So there you have it. A deep dive into the world of growth design. It's not just a buzzword, it's a strategic approach to create exceptional customer experiences whilst delivering really meaningful and sustainable business growth. If you found this insightful, if you've liked it, give us that thumbs up, hit the subscribe button, comment down below on other things you'd like to learn or find out about. Really enjoy making these videos, and I hope you are too. So thanks very much, and see you next time.